this episode of Viral Rewind, we're looking at a DOS virus called Odious, and it's variant 569. Now, something about this virus is that I've seen it kind of mistakenly called the Creeper DOS virus. Now, there are some DOS viruses called Creeper in virus repositories. In fact, this one is mistakenly called Creeper, but it is actually called Odious. Now, the reason for this and why it's a little misleading is because there's actually text in the viral code from the author that calls it the Creeper virus version 2.0. However, I guess to avoid confusion or things like that, the actual virus researchers, including Virus Total, where I got information for this, actually call it Odious. So that's what we're going to call this, the Odious DOS virus, because some of the DOS creeper viruses that I've tried actually do behave quite differently from what this one does, so I think those are entirely different. So anyway, Odious here, and because my virus repository calls it Creeper, we actually have it in the DOS directory there as Creepe, because the name is cut off because of the long file name support that DOS here does not have. But anyway, this is a direct action infector of .com files only, so there's no terminate or stay resident going on here. So we get a little goat printout when it first executes, and then it searches out a .com file in the directory there. I have a directory listing of all the .coms from a temporary directory, which is basically a copy of the DOS directory on this PS12121 that I'm using this time. So, to help speed up the infection, I've got a batch file and I'm just going to let it run. So, every time it's loading up the Odious virus here, one .com file in the present directory that it's being run from is being infected, and you probably noticed that the system has slowed down some, and part of this reason is because it's usually going to, I guess, infect the smallest file, and maybe it's working its way up. I'm not quite sure how it selects a particular .com file. It could also be just that system resources are getting used up with loading Odious so many times. And then we'll look back at the directory listing of the .com files, see if we can see some of those file size changes. Let me break out of the batch job here, and let's look back at listing of .coms and see if we can see anything. I think there's been some size changes. In fact, Mirror.com is a little interesting. That almost seems like a remnant of something else. Anyway, let me go ahead and run it some more just for the sake of it. Infecting the system a little bit more. So while this was happening, let's talk about what is involved with the payload, because there really isn't a whole lot with the infection here, although I will say that fprot, when I scanned this, which is also what kind of pointed out to me that the virus name is called Odious, is some of the files that became infected with Odious here actually failed to function afterwards. That's one of the interesting things with fprot, is that while disinfecting, it can actually tell you if the program being disinfected is actually broken because of the infection. And in the case of this, Odious did break some .com files. fdisk, I know, was one of them that got broken, and I think let's see, can't remember off the top of my head, but the most recent time showed fdisk as one of them. I almost want to say it was probably format.com or something like that, one of the other .com files that got broken by it. So it does have the potential to make some programs no longer work properly. But other than that, when it infects a file, if you run that infected file, it just goes ahead and infects another .com file, just like any other direct action infector that we've seen before. So anyway, we've pretty much done quite a number of infections of the files in our directory here, so I think we've pretty much got most of it infected. In fact, I can clearly tell that unformat.com is infected because of the 19,145 byte file size there. It's usually not that big. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the payload. So, go ahead and reboot the computer here and I'll talk about it. So, The payload for Odious here occurs on a Monday in the month of May. So any Monday that happens in the month of May there, it's going to have its payload trigger whenever an infected program with Odious is run. And it kind of builds up over time, and we'll see what I'm talking about when we do that. In fact, actually, I need to pull the camera down a little bit here because I've got text. And let's run into DOS real quick and get 60 hertz there so it looks all nice. Go back to our temp directory, go ahead and do a directory listing. And now what we're going to do is change the date. So let's move it to the 20th of May, which should be a Monday. And now this time I'm just going to simply rerun the batch file, and we're going to watch what happens to the characters on the screen over time. So let it start running. Oh, did you see what happened? Notice one of the characters is disappeared. See how M disappeared. Now T has disappeared. Which character is going to go next? So you could probably gauge what's happening here. Odious, as it runs over and over, as more and more instances of it build up. In fact, see, we just lost a couple more characters there. As more and more instances of Odious is run from infected programs, it slowly takes characters from the DOS character set and makes them invisible. So what happens is, as you see, as more and more instances of Odious get loaded here, is that we lose more and more characters from DOS here. And it stays active. It affects all the previous lines plus the current lines as it's running. So let me go ahead and break out a thing, and you can barely tell that it says to break out of the loop there, except for the Y and the missing there. So let's go ahead and do a directory listing. And I don't think you can make anything out in the directory listing. Now, nothing is wrong with the files there, except for that they're infected with Odious, the .com files. But there's no way to read their names because most of the characters in the DOS character set here have been set to invisible by Odious. And this is going to happen any Monday in the month of May. The more infected programs with Odious you run, the worse this gets. It builds progressively, again, as more and more instances of Odious infected programs are run. I am curious, though, if it... no, it actually does not infect that. Interesting. And we cleared the screen, and it has actually reset. So let's go ahead and do it again. Now, it does affect full-screen programs. I know it will infect the MS-DOS text editor. So apparently backing out to the DOS shell on the IBM machine here actually reset the DOS character set. So we see it's starting to take characters away again, or I should say set them to invisible. And we'll certainly, over time, pretty much, if you let this kept going, you would pretty much lose all characters from being displayed on the DOS prompt until you exit out to something like the shell that I had there, or something else that resets it the next time you load the command shell. So let's break. Yeah, it's pretty indistinguishable. Let's bring up, see, there's the MS-DOS editor. Can't really make out what's on the display there. And let's see. I'm typing R, and R is not coming up. Neither is E. Neither is W. And we're getting some P's. No L's, K's, S's, D's. We're not getting J. In fact, J looks like it's putting out Huh. Not only has it messed up setting them to invisible, J is actually putting out periods, and period is now putting out commas. Or something, or is it apostrophes? No, it's not. It's doing something really screwy with the character set, obviously. X doesn't print anything, C doesn't print anything, Z does not print anything, nor does A. How about numbers? Well, we got all our numbers. Got these, we got that. We don't have backslash. We have forward slash. We don't have a bracket there, but we do have that bracket. Let's see. Got star, got plus. That, of course, like I say, all the numbers on this side, okay. So yeah, and even the menus there don't look too good. I don't want to save. I don't want to save. So yeah, as we can see, Odious can really mess up the DOS character set, making these characters are invisible, or as we saw from working in the MS-DOS text editor, they're really screw around with the character set, because it looks like it's also remapped some characters to different things. So maybe that's how it's making them invisible. Who knows? But as I say, this payload will happen on any Monday in the month of May when you run a program infected with Odious multiple times over and over. It will just progressively lose more and more of the characters in DOS here. And as I say, it infects .com files as you run it, doesn't stay in memory. So really, that's pretty much it for the Odious DOS virus.